Thank you for joining us on This Week in Turkey. I am Murat, Türsan. Tonight, a mob hit shakes the nation, and we will have journalist Esra Aygın to comment. People have had it with the power bills. President Erdoğan has COVID, and 19 migrants lose their lives in an attempt to cross over to Greece. Our main story tonight, Halil Falyalı, a North Cypriot hotelier, casino owner, and alleged mobster, is shot dead after being ambushed leaving his hotel in what appears to be a mob hit. Falyalı was a well-known figure in both Turkey and the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, who made headlines last year when he was arrested for assault charges. But the charges came right after Prime Minister Erdoğan's scandalous videos were made public. Infamous crime boss Sedat Peker alleges that he released the video, which he got from Falyalı. It's not certain at this point why and who killed Falyalı, but the odds are this is just the beginning of the story.
Northern Cyprus hotelier, casino owner, and alleged mobster Halil Falyalı and his driver Murat were shot dead Tuesday night. Falyalı was ambushed in his armored Escalade while leaving Lis Ambassador's hotel and casino. Falyalı was shot 7 times after a hail of automatic gunfire struck him and his vehicle. Falyalı was immediately transferred to a nearby hospital where he was later pronounced dead. Lead detective Murat stated that multiple types of shell casings and bullets were recovered from the scene. 17 rounds of 7.62mm and 5 rounds of 9mm. One of the alleged suspects, Ömer Tunç, was apprehended the following morning and was allegedly at the scene of the crime in a rental van. 3 other suspects were detained yesterday in Istanbul. Mustafa Söylemez of the Söylemez brothers gang was apprehended in Istanbul for suspicion of connection with the murder. The detainees are alleged to have crossed from Turkish Northern Cyprus to Turkey by boat. Halil Falyalı was an alleged kingpin in Northern Cyprus's underground gambling scene worth £40 million. Falyalı first made headlines back in 2016 for being the muscle for the illegal betting network. His assets, worth $780 million, were confiscated and he was wanted in the U.S. for drug and money laundering charges. Falyalı made headlines last year when crime boss Sedat Peker mentioned him in his infamous videos. Peker alleged that Falyalı and the former Prime Minister Binali Yıldırım's son, Ekrem Yıldırım, were engaged in drug trafficking and the proceeds were laundered through Falyalı's casinos. Peker also alleged that Falyalı had scandalous videos of many Northern Cypriot businessmen and politicians, which was keeping him out of jail. Falyalı was arrested last October when former Prime Minister of Northern Cyprus, Ersan Soner's scandalous video was released by Sedat Peker, which ultimately led to Soner's resignation.
Back with us on the program, journalist Esra Aygın. Ms. Aygın, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Our absolute pleasure. Now, let's start with Halil Falyalı's funeral. Halil Falyalı was buried yesterday, and there were actually quite a few officials at his funeral. Now, why would government officials attend Falyalı's funeral? What do you think the connection is there?
Well, first of all, Halil Falyalı was a Turkish Cypriot businessman, hotel and marina owner who also had casino business and online betting business. And he had very close ties with Turkish Cypriot politicians, including Turkish Cypriot leader Ersin Tatar. These were not secret. These were openly publicized. We have photos of them publicly eating in restaurants and drinking at the same table. He was also widely known as the main sponsor of the campaigns of Tatar's right-wing National Unity Party. And these were mainly the people who attended his funeral yesterday. So yes, these relations were out in the open. They were not secret, and we could clearly see the relationship again during the funeral.
I see. And of course, the story is still developing and there are no convictions at this time. But we do have to ask, who would want Halil Falyalı dead and why?
Well, Halil Falyalı, first of all, maybe we have to mention his wealth. And to understand the magnitude of his wealth, I can give this example. Back in 2004, he made a bid of 180 million euros to buy the English Premier League club, football club Fulham. So we're talking about a very rich businessman. Falyalı also faced criminal charges in the United States for money laundering. And in a court affidavit dating back to 2015, it was stated that he runs, and I quote, a large-scale drug trafficking and weapons trafficking organization in the northern part of Cyprus, and is, again, I quote, known to be associated with Turkish organized crime. So we can clearly see that he was also involved or charged with involvement in trafficking, drugs and weapons trafficking. He was also named by, you will remember, Turkish gang leader Sedat Peker in one of the videos he posted in May last year, where he claimed that Falyalı is untouchable after saying that he is involved in cocaine trafficking, that he is untouchable because he has compromising videos of Turkish Cypriot and Turkish politicians. So we have a lot of speculations that the murder was due to the drug trafficking, that it was due to the online and illegal betting that he was involved, or it was because of the videos that he possessed, which allegedly features not only Turkish Cypriot, but as I said, Turkish politicians involving in sexual acts online. So we don't know the reason, but and we also have 7 people who have been detained until now. But it is important to underline that it is of course it is important to get the gunmen, the ones who pulled the trigger. But more important is to find out who ordered this execution and what was the relations and the business that led to this execution.
I see. So we do have a who's who of potential suspects, everybody from businessmen to organized crime figures to perhaps even governmental officials. Now, you mentioned Sedat Peker. Of course, we can't mention Falyalı without mentioning Sedat Peker. Before the infinite mob boss called Falyalı out last year, he was an unknown figure, mostly, at least in Turkey, as you mentioned. Now, Peker alleged that Falyalı had explicit scandalous videos, and after one of those videos were released, Prime Minister Taner Ersan was, at first he said that he would not resign, but then he was pressured to resign. Yes. So really the question is, what is currently happening in politics in Cyprus? That is a question that is rarely asked. And how are these mob relations affecting what's going on politically in northern Cyprus today?
Yes, actually, the Turkish Cypriot community, the northern part of Cyprus, is in deep shock. We have to also remind our viewers that just 1 week before the Falyalı murder, the father of another Turkish Cypriot businessman was shot and injured. And Akacan recorded a video outside the hospital where his father was undergoing surgery, saying that he was being threatened by this Turkish mafia family, and that he had been to the Turkish ambassador in Cyprus to report this and to ask for his help, and that the Turkish ambassador told him that these people were his fellow countrymen and that it was a mistake to go to police, and that he would be dealing with this, he would be handling this and solving this. So within the course of a week, we have all these very dark developments, and the political arena is not really wasting time, let me say, on this. They're busy trying to form a coalition. We just had elections, as you know, and they're busy trying to form coalitions. But really, the people's agenda is not the formation of a coalition or who the new prime minister will be. The people are really asking hard questions. They're asking how, in a country that is the size of Rhode Island, where all the coasts and the ports are guarded by the Turkish military, gunmen with Kalashnikovs, because this is what we are reading in the reports, that these were heavy weaponry, Kalashnikovs and A-47. How gunmen with Kalashnikovs can come into this country shoot someone, and witnesses are saying that the shooting lasted for minutes. There were 59 shells found in the crime scene. How can they do this and run away where there are city surveillance cameras everywhere? The people are also questioning why police is still under the control of the Turkish military. In the northern part of Cyprus, the police is not under the control of civilian authorities and cannot be supervised by democratic mechanisms. So people are asking all these sorts of questions, and of course, some opposition politicians, some journalists, some opinion leaders are also, widely discussing these things. We are also seeing a lot of discussions around what is really going on in the northern part of Cyprus. As you know, this is an unrecognized piece of land outside the international legal order, outside the international supervision and inspection mechanisms. And according to the 2021 Global Organized Crime Index, not only Turkish Cypriot, but Turkish organized crime groups have also established a significant foothold in the northern part of Cyprus. So it is a place for casinos, a heaven for casinos, as you know. It is also notorious for nightclubs. And according actually to the US State Department's Trafficking in Persons report in 2021, the nightclubs act as brothels where sex trafficking commonly occurs. So we are actually talking about a piece of land where you have gambling, you have nightclubs, sex trafficking, you have betting, you have a lot of money laundering that is a direct result of the casino industry. And we are also seeing all these Turkish Cypriot businessmen being charged with, internationally, of course, not in the northern part of Cyprus, but being charged with drug trafficking. So people are coming to terms with the fact that the northern part of Cyprus actually is a very dark place, and where all sorts of illegal activities are thriving. And now we are seeing the shooting, the relations between the mafia and the dispute between the mafia taking place in almost daylight in front of the eyes of the people. So yes, it has been a shocking week for Turkish Cypriots.
Absolutely, I would say so. Ms. Aygın, thank you for making sense of it all once again, and thank you for being able to join us tonight. It's a pleasure to have you always.
Thank you.
In other news, chaos ensues in Turkey, but this time it has to do with exorbitant price of electricity. Many are getting more than double their electric bills this month as costs of electricity have gone up over 115% in some parts of the country. Meanwhile, as the power goes up, the city of Isparta has been without it for nearly a week. Heavy snowfall in Isparta caused a power failure last Friday, which is persisting in some parts to this day. Many are saying that they won't pay their power bills, and that includes opposition party CHP chair Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu.
The city of Isparta was plunged into darkness as parts of the city have been without power for almost a week due to the heavy snowfall. Most blame the local power distribution company. Once a state-owned company was sold to Cengiz Holding, one of the largest holding companies close to the ruling government. Meanwhile, people take to the streets to protest electric bills this week. As of January, electricity in Turkey has seen an increase to the tune of 115% in some places. Many businesses around Turkey protest the power bills and say that they are outrageously high and that they won't be able to pay the bills. It is not only businesses that feel the squeeze, however. About 100 Alawite houses of worship in Turkey unite together and state that they would not be paying their power bills. While Sunni mosques do not receive power bills, the government does not recognize Alawites' houses as official places of worship. CHP chair Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu joined in and stated that he too would not be paying his power bills.
It's too late for funding now. Unfortunately, it is. Right now, measures must be taken to stop the bleeding. There are two types of taxes on power bills. 5% electricity and coal gas consumption tax, and 18% VAT. If VAT is reduced to 1% until summer, consumers with a 350 lira bill will have approximately a 50 lira discount. I want to speak to the presidential palace. Reduce the VAT down to 1% immediately. We don't expect you to solve anything. You just listen to us and stop the bleeding. The rest we'll solve after the election anyway. Also, withdraw the electricity price hike decision you signed on the night of December 31st. The power bills should return to pre-December 31st prices. You did these price hikes, you should withdraw them. Stop this cruelty, let the people breathe free. Until Erdoğan withdraws the price hikes he signed into law on December 31st, until this day forth, I will not pay any power bill I receive. Let it be known.
And moving on to politics, it's been a busy week. President Erdoğan and First Lady Emine Erdoğan test positive for COVID after arriving from a visit with Ukrainian President Zelensky. On Saturday, the president announced on Twitter that he tested positive for the Omicron variant, and for a little while, political division was absent as everyone from the opposition leaders to the heads of state were showering him with well wishes, which is what you want to do because reportedly at least 8 people were placed under arrest this week for doing the opposite. Needless to say, you don't want to wish ill health on Erdoğan on Twitter if you know what's good for you. But MHP Chair Devlet Bahçeli thinks not only will Erdoğan recover, but that he will lead a long and healthy life because Bahçeli wants Erdoğan to not only run for a second term, but a third term as well for the presidential ticket. And this is all coming at the heels of the opposition parties expanding their membership, or at the very least, trying to.
Çok rahat atlattım.
On Saturday, President Erdoğan announced on his Twitter that he and his wife, Emine Erdoğan, had tested positive for coronavirus, right after his trip to meet President Zelensky in the Ukraine. The president wrote on his Twitter, "Myself and my wife tested positive for COVID-19 today after displaying mild symptoms. Thankfully, we are going through what we found out to be the Omicron variant quite well. We are still on the job, we are continuing our work, we expect your prayers." After President Erdoğan's post, his page was showered with well wishes, both from heads of state as well as opposition political figures. Not everyone wished the president well, however. At least 8 people were arrested for various insults against the president or wishing for his death. Meanwhile, Erdoğan's ally, MHP Chair Devlet Bahçeli, made headlines this week as he insisted that President Erdoğan should run for a third term or more. Under the new constitution passed in 2017, championed by the ruling government, the president can only serve 2 5-year terms. But Bahçeli explained that Erdoğan could serve for longer. Meanwhile, the opposition parties, CHP, İYİ Party, DEVA, Future Party, Democratic Party, and Felicity Party are all set to meet tomorrow, which is seen as an attempt to expand the coalition.
Folks, our last story tonight is a distressing one. So if you are sensitive to matters concerning death, we advise you to skip this one. 19 migrants who were allegedly captured by Greek security forces while trying to cross the border died of hypothermia steps away from the crossing. Eyewitness accounts allege that migrants attempting to cross the border were conned by smugglers who alerted the authorities, who stripped them, took everything they had, and dropped them off across the border completely in the nude at -2 degrees weather. 19 migrants from the group perished mere steps away from the border crossing. A witness choosing to remain anonymous asserts that this is actually a regular happening, and one migrant tells his story. Medyascope was on the scene.
There were 2 of them. I only knew them for a week. We met in this cafe. We talked about the journey. They had no money. They went by themselves. Later, I saw their pictures.
We are at the border now. Greece is to the left of me. This is the Maritsa River. And it is said that the field behind me is where the incident took place.
When Greek soldiers catch migrants, they cross fully clothed, but Greek soldiers on the other side took them and stripped them completely naked and brought them over in boats. They do this at night in particular. When the incident took place that night, there was a slight snowfall. It was -2 degrees that night. That night, they sent them back completely naked again. But that night, they sent them back from a different point, not the usual point. What you're looking at right now is the border between Greece and Turkey. When you look on the right side there, that's Greece. When our soldiers catch the refugees, they give them hot soup, clothes, they give them help. But for whatever reason, the Greek soldiers treat them with great cruelty.
We were at the hotel with our friends. When we woke up, we came here to discuss the journey. We tried crossing the border at least 10 times. There was a 6 to 8 meter wall. We arrived at our first checkpoint. We slept at the hotel. Then we changed our clothes and got bus tickets. There are people who work with the police. They take your money and say the next bus goes to Athens. Then they call the police. The police arrive and ask for our papers. We don't have them, of course. There are people who have fake IDs. They got them to cross the border. They took us to the police station. They took our money, our bags, our clothes, so we wouldn't come back to Greece. They beat us with billy clubs. They didn't hit women, but they hit men, both children and the elderly. We spent 2 days in a cave. People from Tunisia, Morocco, Afghanistan, Iraq. Then they took us somewhere. There were Syrians working with them. They were wearing masks. They took off all our clothes and brought us to the border in rubber boats.
And that's it for us in This Week in Turkey. I have Murat, Türsan, and thank you for joining us.
Türkiye'nin sivil, bağımsız, özgür ve çoğulcu bir medya ortamına ihtiyacı var. Medyascope 20 Ağustos 2015'te bu ihtiyacı karşılamak üzere yola çıktı. Ama yolumuz uzun. Bu yolculukta bize Patreon veya YouTube'un katıl butonu üzerinden katkıda bulunabilirsiniz. Destek verin, sizinle güçlenelim.